look good.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hi everybody, it's Lori from Cut and Paste. I know it's still a couple of minutes till 3, but I just wanted to get on and make sure we could connect and that everybody can join us. We're not going to start on anything quite yet because I'm sure we've got a couple of more people who are going to come in and join us. I think we have 18 people today. If you haven't already, spread out your plastic so you can put your canvas on it to keep your table clean. Get your paints out and arrange them. You're going to need a water bowl to wash your brushes with, and you're probably going to want some paper towels. So have your parents help you if they need to, or if you know where they are, run and get some paper towels for cleaning brushes. You will need your toothpick that I put in the little baggie. If you have lost that, see if mom or dad's got another Q-tip for you. I mean, another toothpick, and we might also need our Q-tips. So everybody get those together. And this is the finished product. This is what it's going to look like when you're done, or very close to this. Or you may choose to make it a little bit different. Maybe you'll add a sea star or a sand dollar or something to the bottom.
All right, we've already got Caitlin and Addison in.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, as you guys are coming in, feel free to say hi, let us know who's watching, and we'll say hi as well.
I've got a list of names here, but I don't have everybody's names because in a lot of cases your parents bought the kit, so I only know your mom's name and maybe your last name. Some of you probably were with us last week when we did the fox, or you may have come in a little later and you did the fox on your own with the YouTube video, or you didn't do the fox at all, you just want to do the turtle. And I'm pretty sure we even have one grown-up who's joining us today, so it's not all kids painting the turtle today. Does everybody have all their things sitting out? While we're waiting, if this is your first time doing this class, make sure to wake up your brushes. The brushes, when they're brand new, will be very stiff. Also, if you washed and dried your brush, sometimes they're a little stiff, so kind of run your finger over the top of the brush and just kind of wake it up. Do that with all 3 of your brushes, all right? Don't smash them or anything. You want to keep the nice shape of your brushes, but that's a good way to start. Melissa, how many do we have joining us so far?
So far, we have 6 viewers, and we now have Beatrice, Isla, and Emily. Sorry if I didn't. Isla, sorry about that one. So far we have 5 friends ready to go.
Okay. We'll wait just a minute or 2 more. If you are, you're going to have your paint in different types of containers. Some of you, all your paint will be in these little pots. Some of you will have some of your paint in these connected pots. That's because these were really hard to find and I had to wait a long time to be able to get them. You may want to practice opening these. Some of these are kind of difficult. You may have to pull down on the little piece on the edge here. So you pull down with your thumb right there, and then when you're done with them, you want to snap them shut again so that they stay nice and dry, nice and wet. I tell people, don't throw away your paint when you paint again, and it should last a good long while. Well, I think we're about 2 minutes in, Melissa. I think we're going to get started. I am going to welcome, some of these people may be watching it later, so I'm going to say their names anyway, but I know we have Isla and Beatrice, Emily and Sarah. We have Addison and Caitlin, but we also have Addison and Chloe. We have Sylvia, Claire, and Alex, and we have Deacon. And I know there are 3 or 4 other families that I don't know the names of the children, but welcome to you all anyway, the Jeffreys, the Gatewoods, Schweitzers, Thompsons, and Cup. Welcome. I'm Lori with Cut and Paste Craft Studio. This is our second live video, and I think our first one went pretty well, so we're kind of excited about it. I want to show you some of the tools we're going to be using today. Now, you will not have an easel like this. You don't need an easel. Actually, I find it easier to paint without one, but for you to be able to see what I'm doing, you really need to have this canvas sitting up where you can see it. So that's why I'm using an easel today. If you did the fox last week, you may notice that this canvas looks a little different than the fox canvas did. The fox canvas only had these really light tracing lines. But when I started using the green paint on this, I found that when I painted the shell, I could no longer see the lines in the background. So what I did was I went over those with a black Sharpie. And when you paint over them, the black is going to be covered up and it's going to look like a very dark green. So that way we don't have to still be able to see those lines, and we don't have to go back over and paint them in the end. It makes it a little easier to do. We also did that with the stars up here, and those will be covered up with some very bright yellow paint, so you don't have to worry about those showing through. You have 3 kinds of brushes. We went over this last week, but I'm going to tell our new viewers and remind you. You've got your big wide brush, which is good for the wide open spaces. All right, but it does have a flat edge, which makes it very good for taking your brush right up to the edge and pulling away. That often gives you a really nice line there. You also have this 1/2-inch brush, which is good for getting into those smaller spots that you need to paint. And then you have your little tiny pointy brush, and this is the one that's good for getting little tiny details, you know, getting into nooks and crannies, or if you're painting over things with a little tiny line, you'll want to do that. Now, you also have a toothpick, which we are actually going to use to make our stars with today, and hopefully you have your bowl of water and you've got your black paint marker. Don't think we're actually going to be using the black paint marker for this canvas, but we will be using it. We used it for the last one and we'll be using it for the next one too. Melissa, do we need to focus in more on this?
Yes. If we're getting started, we are going to move briefly a little over here so you guys can see the canvas a little bit better, and maybe point down so you can even see the paint a little bit.
Yeah, you won't be seeing Miss Lori as much, but that's okay. You don't need to see me, you need to see the painting. Our first color today will be labeled A. It's the only blue you have. It's that deep, it's actually called night sky, which is fantastic because we're painting a night sky. So go ahead and open that paint up, and we're going to start by using our biggest brush. Now you can take the paint, you can use the paint that's in the lid and the paint that's in the cup. Both ways. I know it gets jumbled around so it gets in the lid. When you're filling your paintbrush, don't take the paint all the way up here. That's way too much paint. Less is more in this case. So maybe, that's about 1/3 of the way up. And yeah, I have a little drip there. That's okay because we're going to be putting a lot of paint on. Now, see how when I spread it out, I can put paint on, I'll put one clump on, and I can really spread it far out. Now, you are going to paint right over these stars. That's okay, but don't paint over your moon, all right? We're going to stay away from our moon. So we'll reload our brush, and we just keep spreading it out. And don't worry if you get some streaks there, that's okay. We can go back and fix those up a little later. Oh, I got a little too much paint there, so I want to keep brushing it out, spreading it out. I don't want thick clumps of paint. Thick clumps of paint take a long time to dry. I can go back up here and get this little top edge. I might have to change my angle there and go at a different angle. Now, don't worry if we leave a few little bits of, paint brush strokes. Don't worry too much about that because you can always go back over it with a second coat and smooth things out. But see how I'm not leaving big, heavy bits of paint. I want to smooth it out actually so that I can still see those stars that I don't know if you can tell on mine, but yours, you should be able to smooth it out so you can still see the little black dots, which are going to become your stars. All right, and just keep painting. See how I'm avoiding my moon? I'm just going to go around my moon and not touch him. I can do a little bit with this. Oh, and this is something I told everybody last week, and always remember to do this. Your canvas is not glued to the table, all right? You turn that canvas around when it works for you to turn it around. If you feel like you're painting at an uncomfortable angle, that's okay. You move it a little bit so that you are painting at a little bit more comfortable angle. Now see how I'm going nice and slowly. You don't need to rush through this. So I'm kind of going almost up to the edge of that baby turtle and that mama turtle, but I'm not going right up to the edge because I'm going to go back later. And see, I left space around my moon there. I don't want to get too close to him. All right. And we don't want to go all the way down to the sand yet. I'm going to show you a trick for getting down to that sand. All right, now this is where I'm going to turn my canvas because it works best for me to turn my canvas. All right, what I'm going to do, this time I'm just going to put paint on the tip of my brush. I don't want a ton of paint, I just want a little bit. And I'm going to go right up to that line where the sand starts. I was confusing line and sand. And I'm going to pull away. I set my brush down right on the line, and then I pull away. And then I can kind of smooth this paint out. It might have gotten a little thick there, and just spread it out, spread it out. Then I've got another bit of sand up at the very top. So again, I can go right up to the edge and pull it away. Take your time, go nice and slowly. Like I told everybody doing the fox last week, it's the process, not the product. You're doing this canvas class because it's fun to paint a canvas, not because you're Michelangelo and you want to have the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try your best, but it means you shouldn't yell at yourself if you feel like, oh, it's not as perfect as everybody else's. Because yours is going to be your work of art, and yours is going to be fun. All right, see how we've gotten most of those, I've gotten most of it painted up to the edges of things. I'm going to put a little more paint by this moon. All right, and I haven't painted right up to the turtle. I've gotten kind of near him, and I'm not too worried about my brush strokes. We're just making sure the paint's not too thick anywhere. Well, we need a little more on the back side of this moon, don't we? Yours may not look exactly like mine. That's okay. Now, this is where I'm going to stop using my big brush, okay? And what's the first thing we do when we're done with a brush? We put it in our water bowl, because it's amazing how fast acrylic paint dries up in a brush. And we may go back and use that brush again, but that's okay. We'll dry it off then. That's why we have paper towels here. Now I'm going to switch to this brush, and I'm going to use that same technique where I put just a little bit of paint on the end, not a ton, and I'm going to go right up to the edge of my baby turtle, and I'm going to push there and pull away. And I'm going to kind of work at the angle that he's at. And I'm going to take my time. Don't worry too much about the edges and around it. Just get right up to that. And you can probably do this several times before you need to reload your paint. All right, because there's little tiny places where we can go now. I don't think I can get right down into that corner, so I'll wait and use my pointy brush to do that. I hope I'm not making you dizzy by painting sideways, but that's what's working for me right now. To set my brush down to the edge and pull away. All right. Now I'm going to stop for a second and say, I've got a little bit of, some brush strokes moving around there, so I'm just going to go, not right up to the edge, but a little bit near the edge, and kind of smooth that out. Give you all time to catch up. Now remember, if anybody's got their computer going and they want to type a comment, if Miss Lori's going too fast, Miss Melissa is sitting right behind me here. You can't see her, but she's back there on the laptop, and she's manning the comments, and she can answer any questions you have. All right, I'm going to keep going. I think I need to turn my canvas again, though. Remember, you turn your canvas. If your canvas needs to be like that, you do that. You turn it whatever diagonal way you want. Now, I'm getting a little paint on my hand. You may too, but that's okay. This paint doesn't like to wash out of clothes, but it washes just fine off your hands. though it sometimes takes more than the 20 seconds or the happy birthday song. But I find that if I rest my hand along this, on the edge of this canvas, I get a little more control with my brush. So see, I'm back to doing that straight right up to the edge and pull away. Up to the edge and pull away. And that works for me. And reload when you need to. Get right down to those edges. And it's not, the nice thing about having these black lines there is they kind of give you a margin of error. That is, if you get a little bit of the blue paint on that black, that is not a problem, because you can just cover it up with the blue later. Okay. Now, oh, I need to go and get into his face. So again, I'm gonna turn, and I'm resting my arm, which will get a little paint on me because this is still a little bit damp. I'm resting my arm right there to give myself a little more stability, I guess is a good word for it. Now, if you feel like, oh, I've still got those brush strokes there and they're not fixing, that's okay. Once this dries and you go back with another load of paint, you can touch that up. I'm not going to waste your time right now with a lot of touching up, because this will take too long and you guys will start getting bored. So I'll leave that to you when you get down to the end. If you're like, oh, look, that's kind of brush strokey there. You can go back and work on that then. So I hope everybody's getting caught up with their backgrounds. I don't want to rush anyone too much. Take your time. Boy, I poured out a lot of this dark blue paint for me. I bet everybody else got way too much too. That's okay. Save it. You can use it some other time. Maybe your mom will get you some canvases when this is all over and you can freehand things. Now, I'm going to start working on my moon. It works for me to have it upside down because I want to work on this outside edge first, and I need that to be closer to my hand.
On the screen, you guys probably can't see the pencil lines just because it's fairly faint, but right around where she's painting right now is where that crescent moon shape is that hopefully you can see on your own canvas.
Yeah.
So she's just painting totally around it because the sky should go right up to the moon.
Thank you, Melissa. Melissa's seeing everything through the camera and I'm not, so she may sometimes have a better.
Ooh, happy belated birthday to Emily. It was 3 days ago.
Oh, awesome.
And like I said, guys, let me know if you're running behind and if you're struggling or if you have any questions or if you're totally done with the sky and you're like, let's move on. Either one, just type it in the comments and I'll see that.
We put this Melissa to work. Some of you have probably met her in the shop before. She's here in the summers and at Christmas. Usually she's away at college. And like everything else, her college is closed down for now for on campus, so she's doing her schoolwork on a computer. I bet a lot of you are doing your schoolwork on a computer too. I had my first Zoom call ever today. I bet you guys have already had 5 or 6 Zoom calls. I am just painting along the outside edge of my moon. I'm not going to use this brush right away for the inside edge. And then once I've gotten I'm just going to very lightly go around it. Don't worry if you get a little color in there. We're using a good color that should cover up any boo-boos. Don't worry too much about that. All right, I'm going to have to turn one more time to get that last outside edge for me. And again, it helps me to brace my wrist or the edge of my finger on this. And you may find that too, or you may find that it helps to hold the other edge of your canvas with it too. All right, and then I'm still going to use this bigger brush and I'm going to go in just a little bit to the inside edge of my moon, but I'm not going to go right up to the edges because I think this brush is too big for that. So I'm going to stop for a second. Actually, I'm going to spread that out. Looks like I've got a clump there. There we go. And I'm done with my medium-sized brush for a minute, so I'm going to stop and use my pointy brush. Now, this is something else I should have mentioned. If you're ever using that big brush and you just feel completely out of control with it and you want to switch to a smaller brush, you can do that. The same thing with the brush I was just using. If you feel like, oh no, I really want that pointy one, feel free to do that too, because you use what makes you feel in control. The smaller the brush, the more you'll see brush strokes. But you know that in some places you want more brush strokes. You want the texture of it. So I'm switching to my little brush. And I'm, again, with paint, especially with the little brushes, just get a little bit on there. Can you see? I've just gone up a tiny bit. And this is where I didn't get right up to my turtle. I needed to get my baby turtle edge colored in there. And then I'm going to use this, and this is where, to me, it's very important to have my hand braced, is that we're going to outline the inside of that moon, and that's where it's helpful for me to have my hand braced. Now I'm going to have to turn again. I think they're all going to be dizzy by the time I get done. Hopefully some of this paint out here is getting a little drier, so you're not getting big clumps of paint on your arm. But like we said, it completely washes out. I'm going to have to turn again. Guys, if you feel awkward, turn your canvas. Now, here's the problem. I've gotten a little too much paint on my hand, and if I set it down here, I'm going to get paint on Mr. Turtle's face. So I'm going to have to hold it down a little lower. And, all right, I'm getting the inside of that moon. Now, actually, this is somewhat a place where we could, when we're done, outline the inside of, outline this moon with the black marker when we're completely done, and that may make it feel a little smoother. See if you have any big clumps and just sort of brush those out. Oops, I hear the dog. We let him out a minute ago, and now he says he needs to come back in. If you hear funny noises or a ticky-ticky-tick sound, that's his toenails on the... Can you hear that? He just came in. That's our dog. Now, if you're done, you're welcome to, and we may wait just a minute or two to make sure people have caught up. I'm seeing a big clumpy area here where I think I need a little bit more paint. Don't put way too much paint on your brush because you don't want it to get too heavy. But I feel like I've got a few too many brush strokes here. Now, you don't have to fix those right now. You can be finishing up whatever you're painting. But it was just, since I'm done, I'm going to do that.
And if you don't like the kind of streaky look, wait till this is totally dry, maybe after we've done the rest of this video, and you can go back and add another coat or even a third coat since you have plenty of blue. Yeah. And you can keep making it darker.
All right, how's everybody doing? Have we gotten most of our sky finished?
I think we're good, but we'll give them a few more minutes.
Yes. If you are done, put the cap back on your paint. All right, because like I said, it's very hard for me to judge how much paint you need. So I'm sure some people got way too much paint. But I know some of you are working together, a brother and sister team, or two sisters together, and so you may need to get, you may need more paint than other people do. And this is where it's important to wash those brushes off, you know, sort of swish them around in your bowl, not violently though. You don't want to spread water everywhere or hit your neighbor's canvas. And then dry them super well. You're going to press down really hard on your paper towel. All right, is everybody doing pretty well? Do I need to wait any longer? Or do we feel like we're coming along?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Seems like we're good.
Next up is color B. Now, you do have two sort of tan colors. B is a light. It's called sand gray, which I think is perfect because we're doing sand. And then a little bit darker color that's called natural tan grout, and we'll use that later as well. You may start your painting with the big brush, but we may move pretty quickly onto the smaller brush because, like I say, there's not quite as much space here. Make sure your brush feels good and dry. Again, we're only going to fill it up maybe a third or so. And then we're just going to paint the sand gray. All right. And do you see, you may not be able to see it on my canvas very well, but your canvas has some little traced lines. Paint right over those. That's these right here. You're going to paint right over those. You'll see them through the paint, and we'll come back later and put an accent color on there. Just go under Mama Turtle's legs. Now, some of you are probably big fans of sea turtles. I love sea turtles. You may not know this about me, but I actually have a degree in marine biology. I am not an art teacher. I am not a teacher at all. And so I have always loved sea turtles. And I wonder if there's anyone watching right now who knows what's wrong with this sea turtle picture. Beyond the fact that, you know, the turtle probably doesn't look exactly like this, but what is it about this scene that's not very accurate? If anybody knows, type that in. Tell us what's wrong with this picture. Now, I am switching now to my smaller brush because we're getting into the areas where that big brush is just too big. All right, and we can kind of go up here and just pull down. Remember how we go straight up? I'm going to have to turn, guys. That's getting really awkward for me. So I'm going to turn it a little bit. And again, we may have some spots where we have to go
Beatrice
back.
actually has a turtle at home.
Does she?
Mm-hmm.
Ah. All right, so no one has told me what's wrong with this picture. I will tell you the very sad truth is turtle mamas are not very good mamas. And this is just, it's not that they should be. They're not mamas like your mama is that stays with you and takes care of you. Sea turtles, they go and build nests in the sand. Whoops, I got a little too close to that black line, so I'm going to wipe it off with my finger. If you did that, you could take your Q-tip and just wipe it off there. Sea turtle mamas, actually in America, it's right around this time of year, they go and lay their nests in the sand on the beaches. If any of you have ever been to Destin, that area down there, and Fort Walton Beach, there are so many sea turtles that nest there. But the mamas, in the dark of the night, they crawl up onto the beach and they dig a hole and they lay their eggs and then they leave. Because that's just what they do. And they may lay 100 or more eggs at one time. And then the babies, the eggs stay there and they're nice and warm in the sun and tucked under the sand and they're safe from predators there. And that's where they stay until they're ready to hatch.
So we had a question. If these are sea turtles, where is the sea? And so we're painting the sand right now, and you've got the sky behind you. So imagine the ocean is more towards us. It would be off the page.
Yes. And so probably they're sitting up on a hill, so the ocean is hidden by this hill of sand. Sea turtles usually dig their nests pretty far back from the edge of the water. I'm going to have to turn again because I was getting awkward there. They build their nests pretty far away from the water because they don't want high tides or hurricanes to come up and disturb the nest. Now, there are creatures like snakes and foxes and things like that that will try to dig into their nests and get them and kill the eggs. But when the babies hatch, mama's not there because that's not part of her job. That's just not the way it works. And when they hatch, they have to make their way down to the ocean all by themselves. And they're very, very tiny. And there are a lot of creatures like seagulls who would really like to eat them. Now I'm putting down my medium-sized brush now and switching to my tiny brush. You do that whenever you feel the need to. But when they come out, babies come out at night and they scurry down that beach and get to the water as fast as they can because they're much safer in the water, and the seagulls know that, and they might want to go after them. So the one thing that makes sea turtles endangered is that human beings go on the beaches and make big messes. And when they've made a big mess on the beach, sometimes the sea turtles, the babies, they're so tiny, they're only about this big around. And if they go running down the beach and from the nest straight down to the water, they might run into an old beach chair that somebody left behind. Or, believe it or not, a sand castle.
Ooh, another viewer has a turtle at school.
Ah. So the important thing, if you're ever on a beach...
Oh, Isla is the one.
Oh, Isla.
Has a turtle at school.
Okay. The beach, if you're ever at the beach and you build a sandcastle, when you get done with that sandcastle at night, have a stomping on it party, okay? Because if you leave that sandcastle there and the baby comes out and goes running down the beach, if he runs into that sandcastle, it may take him a lot longer to get to the water, and a seagull might have time to come get him. So I recommend that after you get done building your sandcastle, have a big party and smash it to bits and then smooth it out. That way, if there is a sea turtle nest on that beach, you will keep them out of the way. Same thing if you have, oops, I got over that line a little bit. The same thing if you've ever dug a big hole. Does anybody like to dig like huge holes in the sand? That's another good thing to do. All right, I got, with my tiny brush, into that little bit that under his chin, which is also part of the sand. And then I just noticed that I'm missing a little spot right there. So how are we doing? Is everybody, so far we've just been kind of painting straight lines, haven't we?
I think we're doing well.
Okay.
Guys, let me know.
And also, if you ever feel rushed, you know, you can stop what part you're doing and move on to the next part, and then go back later and watch it again, and go. You can fast forward or speed up, or slow it down if you need to. Pause for a little bit. So now we have the sand done, and I'm just noticing. I thought the last time I did this, I could still see where my lines were, and I'm not seeing them now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch to my canvas that's finished so you can see where these funny little lines are going to go. When you're done with your sand gray, that's number B, you're going to put your lid back on, and then you're going to pop open or take the lid off color number 1, and that is a color called Natural Tan Grout.
Can you hold it up for them?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that one on the end.
Yes. And it's the color that we're going to do these swooshes with. And I just realized once I painted this this sand gray, that I can no longer see my lines. And you probably can't either. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. Because this is just sort of giving your beach some texture. You know, maybe there's a little bit of a hill there or something like that. So we're using our tiniest brush. We've got a nice point. Here's something, if you ever feel like your brush isn't nice and pointy, I know I always tell you to use a dry brush after you've cleaned it, but if you take your brush, get it wet, and then twist it, put it in your fingers like that and twist it, you'll get this perfect little straight thing. Now the key is do not flood your brush with paint. You're only going to fill it up and just dip it in there. What is that? Maybe about 1/3 of it. And then I say you should probably do about 4 swirls. 1 in front of her, 1 behind her, and then 1 under her front feet, and maybe 1 under her back feet. And just kind of go whoosh, you know, start there and go up and over, up and over.
So if you can still see your lines down on the bottom through that sand gray we painted on, just follow the lines. But if you can't, like Miss Lori can't, then yeah, just go ahead and make your own like she was describing.
So I'm going to do one right about here, just to give him a little texture, and then like that maybe. And then that one's a little curvy. Maybe. There we go. And then one right about there. And that's all there is to it. Now you've got a little bit of, your sand's not quite perfectly smooth. You know, maybe it's got little hills and bumps and ridges. Now, the next color on here is number 2, but we're going to wait and use number 2 at the end. And the reason is we're going to paint stars with it, and we're going to make dots with those stars, and dots take forever to dry. And so I don't want you all trying to paint and going, oh, no, I just smeared my star. So we will wait and use color number 2 at the very end. And then I think we're going to skip over right now. We're going to skip to color 5. This is actually, well, you've got 4 colors. You've got this kind of soft green and this super bright green and a medium green and a dark green. So you're using the one that's the second from the darkest. And this is, so it's color number 5. Hopefully I labeled all your colors properly. So he's not your darkest, but he's not the 2 brighter ones either. All right, and I think for this, I prefer my medium brush, so go ahead and dry that medium brush up, get him nice and good. And then let me show you. Melissa, can we see both canvases at once here?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna be painting this part of the shell, okay? So it's Mama's shell, but not the baby's feet that hang down, not the baby's face, just Mama's shell, okay? And you're gonna paint right over those black lines and they'll show through. And don't worry about this highlighting, that's something we're doing afterwards, okay? So just paint along with me. Just, again, use a small amount and just brush it around. I think with this green we ended up doing 2 coats with it.
No, we are using number 5.
What did I say?
Someone said, do you mean 6?
No.
We are using number 5. It is
yes.
the second darkest green you have.
If I mislabeled it, I'm sorry, but it should be the second darkest one.
Will you hold it up? The
yes.
paint selection.
In my labeling, number 6 is this super bright green, and you don't want that. You want this sort of almost the second to the darkest.
Yes. You're good.
Okay. And this one is not very opaque. Do you know what I mean by opaque? That means, opaque means you can't see through it. This one is pretty see-through, so we will probably have to go back over it later with a second coat of paint, but that's all right. We're gonna go up in between baby's fins, and this is where you can do that thing again, where you put the edge right there and pull away. There we go. Get all the way up. Now, do you see this line here? This baby has 2 lines. So don't paint over either of those 2 lines. Baby's tummy stops right there. See that? And again, if you're getting into spots where you need to use that tiny brush, just leave it alone and we'll come back later. I've got a little too much paint in a few spots. I need to spread mine out.
And so, guys, it is good that you can still see those black lines through
yes.
the green. That's what we want.
Yes.
So that we don't have to redraw them.
Yes. Now, notice I've left this spot up here on the tail end of the turtle. I've left that unpainted because I feel like I need my smaller brush there. So I've stopped and I'm continuing with my medium-sized brush around here. I'm going right up to the edge there and I can pull it away. And again, these nice big black lines make it easier to see. I actually read today that they think that they're going to have ever nesting in Florida because the beaches are closed. Sometimes when the beaches are open and busy, Mama gets scared away and she doesn't come up and nest. So that's kind of exciting news because I think most of you probably know that sea turtles are endangered animals. All right, I think I've done as much as I can do with this color, with this size brush. So I'm switching down to my smaller brush. Like I said, whenever you need to. I'm going to make a nice point and then get right up in here. You all can't see it, but the dog thinks he needs to be right under my feet and Melissa's feet because we're obviously having fun and talking to each other, and he's very jealous of that. All right. And there we go. Now this doesn't cover as well as you've seen here. So we're going to come back after we've done some of the other colors and we'll do a second coat on there. Some of the greens are kind of what we call transparent. It's easy to see through them. How's everybody doing?
I think we're doing well.
All right. Then we're going to move on to faces and fins. Faces, fins, and bellies. So faces, fins, oops, those are fins, and bellies down here, and that's a fin. Not the baby shell. The baby shell is going to be another color, but we're going to start with, now we're going back to color 3, and that's color, whoops, close up color 5. That's this one here. It's the lightest green. This one is also light, but it's a very, very bright green. Number 6 is very bright. We're moving to number 3, which is kind of a soft light green. Oh, mine does not want to open. There we go. Try to open it without throwing paint across the room. Now again, we're doing fairly small spaces here, so if you get to a point where you need to move to a smaller brush, you do that. Just use a small amount of paint, and again, we're painting right over their faces. See how that those lines show up so well underneath there? And you can do that thing where you go right up to the edge. And now if you want to, and if you feel like you've braced your hand and you're really comfortable with getting good control, you could paint all the way up to that black line. That black line if you want. See, his little happy face just still shows through. I don't know why, but when I first saw this design, I was convinced that this was a daddy turtle. Well, guess what? If mama turtles aren't very involved with their babies, daddy turtles are the worst because they aren't involved at all with the babies. So, but he still just looked like a cute little dad turtle to me.
Angie,
so.
yes it is. This is number 3, yes.
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Connection got messed up, so I couldn't respond. But yes,
okay.
We're on number 3.
And remember, we're doing his face, both his fins, his belly, his back fin, and the baby's 2 fins and belly and face. And see, this is why I like the fact that these show through, because it would be, with the darker colors, it's hard to see the lines once you put a second coat on. So we are doing little fins, and again, you all holler at me if I'm going too fast. I can always slow down. And you can always turn your brush a little bit to give it a little more space. But you know what? I'm running out of space there. I just can't get down to those edges with this brush. So I'll leave it for now. Again, I can go right over those lines. You can do, again, with the, brush right up to the edge and pull away. And then go back and kind of smooth it out. Now I'm going to leave that belly for the smaller brush because it's a little thin for my brush. but I can go back here and get into these areas. And my blue paint is getting pretty good and dry, so I can rest my hand up there. And remember, if you feel like you're reaching and it's uncomfortable or awkward, it's time to move your canvas around. Oh, and I wanted to show you something real quick that we can do. The reason you have a Q-tip is it's a great way to fix mistakes. So I'm going to make a mistake here on purpose. See how I just got some green paint up there? You can dip your Q-tip, I keep calling it a toothpick, dip your Q-tip in a little bit of water and then just swipe it down. And there we go. I've just fixed my mistake. So if you run into that problem, you can do that too. All right, now, and again, guys, if I'm going too fast, you just tell Melissa and she'll slow me down. Now I'm going to go back and do some of my details that I felt my other brush was too big to do. So I'm going to go right up there to that line. And again, using a little bit too little paint, to me, is better than too much paint. If you get too much paint, you're leaving big clumps around everywhere. Goodness, y'all, look how much of this we've gotten done. Well, I guess it has been 45 minutes. We've been working pretty steadily here. And I hope you all can hear me. You all yell if I'm not being loud enough. I've got a little too much on that line, I feel like. There we go. Then we're going to go right up here. Go over his shoulder. Y'all, this was the most complicated canvas to trace. And we had to trace 18 of them. It was a lot of work today. I'm going to turn this way because that's what works for me. You go at whatever angle you need to. And again, it helps me if I brace my wrist or the side of my hand on that canvas so I've got better control. It's just too hard to paint like this. I just feel like I really need a solid base. So then I'm just using my fingers to manipulate the brush, to move the brush around, rather than my whole arm. And your fingers have much better fine motor skills than your whole arm does. So again, keep bracing that there. All right, did we get good up and close there? I think we did. I'm going to pause for a minute, take a sip of water, and let you guys catch up. Melissa, are we still good named on that?
Yup. All is good. Let me know if something isn't.
Now, I do see some brush strokes on my fins a little bit, and I would fix that, except that later on, we're going to be adding all these dots. And so the texture isn't going to show very much. And actually, you know, turtle skin isn't smooth and all one color. I mean, gosh, look at your own arm. You've probably got a freckle or two. One side of your arm is lighter than the other. So we're going to leave that way. Now, when you are ready, we're going to do the baby's face and fins and belly too. Does anybody have a name for these turtles yet? Does Mama have a name? I'd say Myrtle the turtle, but that's from Dr. Seuss, isn't it? Wasn't Myrtle one of the turtles in Dr. Seuss? I think it was that story where the turtles just kept piling up higher and higher and higher. It's been a long time since I've read Dr. Seuss because Miss Melissa here is 21 and she's my youngest, so I haven't had a chance in a while. So she could be Myrtle the turtle, or she could be Gladys. That's an old-fashioned name. All right. Now, this little part here is the turtle belly. So we will do that little line right there. And then continue on to his back fin. Have you ever seen, you know, a puppy dog? Sometimes when puppies are little, if they're going to be big if they're going to be big dogs when they grow up, they always have these giant feet. And I feel like this baby turtle has giant fins for such a baby little guy. So maybe he's like that. Maybe turtles have great big giant fins when they're babies. I'll have to tell you, I did not design this canvas. Henry, who works for us, did this design, and then the puppy and the panda that we're doing later. If you've ever been in the shop and seen a young man sitting, he's usually at the back workbench and he's usually carving something. He's really good at carving wood. That's Henry, and he did these designs, and I think he is really good at it. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. Are we doing pretty well?
Had a few people struggle with being able to hear everything, so I'll just make sure that I put the really important things in comments.
I'm not talking loud enough?
Or I think it might just be connection or things like that.
Okay.
But it won't hurt if you talk a little louder.
All right, I will.
And to answer someone's question, the color of the baby turtle is the same color we did the mom turtle in.
Yes.
Their shells are going to be different colors, right?
Yes, but
the
their
shells will be
feet.
different colors, but their feet and their faces are both number 3.
Yes.
I think that's everything. Someone said they wanted to name one of the turtles Molly. I don't know which one, but I like the name.
I think baby turtle must be Molly.
Yeah, that works. I
Yes.
like
I think she should be Molly. That's for sure. She looks like a Molly.
Okay. And yes, if for some reason you're not hearing everything, you haven't gotten everything, just know that we're going to post this to the YouTube, right?
Yes.
Afterwards.
It'll be saved here on Facebook, and then we will, once that takes probably about 20 minutes, and then once that's done, we'll download it and upload it to YouTube. So you'll be able to have a chance to go back and look at it again.
Yes. I understand the issue of loud dogs. We have a fairly loud dog as well, but he's behaving himself okay today.
All right. If you're ready, baby's shell is number 6, and this is this very bright green. It's actually called leprechaun, kind of a Kelly green. So number 6 for the baby's shell, baby Molly.
Claire has named her turtles Shelly, and Sheldon is the baby. I like it. That's great.
I like that too. All right. For the baby shell, I'm going to start with my medium brush, and I'm using number 6, the real bright green. And I won't be able to do all of it with this brush. But I'll start, and I can get, a good bit to it. See, Miss Lori paints outside the line sometimes too. This is a nice straight line, so I can do the go up to the edge and pull away right there. But then I'm running out of space where I can use the medium brush. So back to my smaller brush with my number 6 and get in those nooks and crannies. And I went a little over that edge there. There we go. How are we doing? The most important thing is that you're having fun. But my goodness, look at that. We've got most of the color on both of our turtles, Molly and Shelly and Sheldon. Now, I really feel like my paint didn't go on very thickly. See how sheer it looks there? So I'm pretty sure I used a second coat. And that again goes back to number 5. That's the next to the darkest green. You haven't used the darkest green yet. You're going to use that for the dots later. But I'm feeling like mine just didn't cover very well. So I'm going to go back to my medium brush with my number 5, that next to the darkest. And oh yeah, see how that works? Now mine, I actually stirred it up with the wrong end of my brush because I thought maybe mine was separating a little bit, and that's why it was so light. Paint does separate. There's one color of purple we have that is just the worst. Now the nice thing is, when you're doing a second coat, you don't necessarily have to get into every little tiny nook and cranny, so you can do more of it with the big brush. But look at the difference between where I put the second coat and where I put the first coat. I feel like that just makes a big difference on this little turtle. And just smooth out his brush strokes. Make his color look nice and bold there. I keep saying him. I think most of us have named this a mama turtle. So we'll make her look nice. Putting on her makeup here. There we go. Whoops, got a little over on that. All right, I think she looks like her shell is in really good shape now. But I'm going to pause here just a little bit and let you guys catch up. See, I've taught these classes in the shop, 20 times or more. But this is only the second time I've done it online. And since I can't see your faces, I can't tell how you're doing. So it's nice if you let me know every once in a while if I'm just going way too fast for you. Now, I do see a few spots on mine where I think, I might touch it up a little bit, but I think I'm going to wait and do the touch-ups afterwards, and you can do the same thing. If you see a little spot where you really think you need to touch it up a little bit, wait and do it afterwards. That way I'm not going to be dragging you on here for 2 hours or so. I don't want you all to get antsy in your seats because you're tired of painting with me. So if everyone has gotten sort of caught up with me, this is where we're going to start adding some detail work. All right, and the first color I'm going to have you do detail work with, we're going to take this tiny brush, and since we already have paint color number 5 open, that's where we're going to start on. And I'm going to do that thing where I showed you, where I twist it and I get a nice point there. And then I'm only going to put a tiny little bit on that paint. Can you see that I only have, what color should I hold it up next to? Just the tiniest little bit of paint on there.
Here,
all right?
Hold it closer rather than that.
Can you see that?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit of paint.
You just want a little bit. And we're going to use this like a pencil because I really don't want her face to be outlined in just black. So I'm going to use this tiny brush with this darker color green, and I'm just going to go lightly over her eyes. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing this teeny little detail and you think, no, it's fine, I don't need to do that, then don't do it.
Alex has named the turtles Abby and Junior Abby.
All right.
I like it.
Abby and Junior Abby. Abby Junior. There we go. See, I liked that just a little bit in a little green rather than just the black.
And it might be hard to get those lines perfect, but if you look at your canvas from the distance our camera is, I promise it'll look nice. So you can't see the little tiny waves that Mom is making as she paints over these, but if you got if we took you like really close, you might see some flaws. So don't feel bad if your lines aren't exactly
and
like
again,
the black lines.
If you don't feel comfortable doing this, you don't have to, because you can see the face lines. I just preferred to cover mine up with just a little bit of green there. Take your time, and remember, it's the process, not the product. We're all about having fun here, not about being perfect. And that's that. You don't have to do any more of that if you don't want to. And at this point, we're going to stop using our brushes for a little while. And, well, no, I take that back. We're going to use our brushes, but we're not going to use the brush end of our brushes. We're going to switch to the pointy end of our brushes to do some of the rest of this work. And I'm going to show you what it looks like right here. We're going to be making dots with the end of our paintbrush. Now, when you just use the end of a paintbrush, it makes a perfect little round dot like this one here. But if you dot and then drag it a little bit, it'll give you like a curved space like that, or an oval like this. And these are not marked on your canvas. You won't see these. These are just the way, these are just on a sea turtle's fins, and they're all random. And each turtle has their own kind of unique set of, I guess we could call these freckles. And scientists, if they're studying sea turtles that live in a certain area, they will get to know, they'll take pictures and they'll get to know the turtles by these markings on their fins. And sometimes they'll have intricate marking on their shells as well. So we're going to, you can pick the size of dots you want to make. This one I think is a little too big for the dots we're doing. So I'm going to start with the smallest one and start making some dots. Now,
can you hold up the paint as you do it to show them how you do this?
Yes, I will. Now we're moving on to paint color number 4. That is the absolute darkest green you have there. Now, this green we're only using for Mama. Mama's spots, Mama's freckles are going to be with this dark, dark green number 4. And basically we just dip the tip of our paint in like that. And then we just go right here and make a dot. All right? Now, if you go back into the paint every time, you'll get the same size dots. But if you go just once and then keep dotting, look how they're getting smaller like that. Now, her dots are kind of only around the bottom edge and then kind of going up the elbow a little bit and the bottom edge there. But we don't want them all to be straight dots. So this time I'm going to dot in, and then I'm going to put it down. I'm not going to lift up. I'm going to drag it. And look how I kind of got that funny, I don't know what that's shaped like. But that's what we're going to do. And some of them could curve up like that. And then we could put another dot in there. And maybe a dot like that. But your dots are your dots, okay? Your dots will not look like mine. You dot them however you like. And I'm going to add some smaller ones in between the bigger ones. And I'm going to go right up to her elbow. And then I'm going to stop. All right? Was that fun? I kind of like that part because there's no right or wrong. There's just your own ideas of how it should look. Now, dots take forever to dry. So for the rest of our painting, we're going to be really careful moving around those dots, okay? So we're going to start back over here. If you kind of go around like that, you might get a big blob. And then I'm going to do a couple of smaller ones. And then maybe drag one, kind of like that. And we're gonna make our way up to her elbow, like that. And I want one up there too. Now you'll see that the ones I did this time don't look like the ones I did last time. They're gonna be different every time. So you do your dots how you like, and then we'll go along here on the back, and again, we're gonna do the bottom edge, kind of from where it joins her shell down to the toe. Do turtles have toes? Are they called toes? Maybe not. So I'm going to do several right up around here. Maybe a funky shaped one there. And then I'm going to get some that, and remember, if I don't reload, my dots get smaller and smaller, and I want that kind of look. Ooh, that's a swiggly one. I like that. And I'm going to take these dots all the way to the end. And they don't have to be in a straight line. All right. I kind of like that. What do you all think? You like the look of those? All right. Now, you can clean off the tip of that brush. Remember, we're still using the wrong end of the smallest one. And we're going to add a little bit of dots to the end of the baby sea turtle here. Now, the baby's dots are going to be the same color as her shell, and that's going to be this number 6 color, that very bright green. Ooh, I got a bubble up there. Okay, so I dip my paint in that green. And on this one, it's going to be along the back side, like that. Or the left edge, I should say. Can you all see that? How I'm doing the sort of the left edge there. Everybody doing okay? And again, we're going to go down this side. Ooh, I didn't get quite enough paint there. If your dot feels too small to you, you can always go back and add a little bit more. And I think I need just like a few more, like right around here. There we go. How is that for a turtle? Everybody enjoying those dots? And remember now, we are, these dots take a long time to dry because the paint's very thick. So we want to avoid those as we paint the rest of it. So what I'm going to have you do, we are going to do some more shading on this, but I'm going to have you wait for a second. And once you get done with your dots, everybody turn your canvas upside down. And the reason I'm saying that is we're going to work on the stars down here. And that way we won't be, our hands won't be running into those dots, because believe me, I am the queen of smearing those little dots. So once you're done with that, you're going to close that up. And then we're going to switch to this bright yellow, which is number 2. Would you run into the scrap room and find there's a little tub of white paint in there? Now, see if you can find all of your stars. See if you, you might have covered some of them up a little bit. There's one, if you've got your canvas upside down, you can see it with me. There's one right here. Thank you. There's one right here. I covered him up a little bit. There's one up here. And these kind of make a rectangle. And then there's 1, 2, 3 up there. If you can't see yours, maybe your mom or dad could help you sketch this out. I'm going to turn it right side up just for a minute because I want you to see dot, 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 and these 3 up here is the Big Dipper. So that's the shape that the stars are going to be in. Oh, I lost Melissa for a minute. I'm going to give you all a second to catch up before I start doing that. Melissa, could you check and see if anyone's having trouble finding their stars? No comments?
So far, no comments.
Okay, then I'm assuming you've all found your stars. Now, if you don't want a Big Dipper, you can put your stars in any configuration you want. But I'm going to start with one star and, find your toothpick. You need your toothpick for this, okay? Now, you're taking the wrong end of your small brush and dip it all the way down into the yellow paint. So, wrong end, all the way down into the yellow paint, and then put it right there. All right? And then you're going to take your you're going to take your toothpick and you're going to make 5 little lines out from the middle. Like a star. All right? That is your star. Find your next spot. Put a dot right there. And then draw your 5 little lines straight out from it. Like that. They don't have to be perfect. Oh, I got 6. Well, that's an extra sparkly star. All right, one right there. And you can always draw it as if you've got a head, 2 arms up in the air, and 2 feet down like that. All right, that's your star. Keep doing them. 2 little legs, 2 little arms up in the air, just like you just don't care. And then there's your head. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars total. And remember, watch out for your dots so you're not smearing them. Don't worry, we can fix it if you do smear. I'm going to have to turn here a little bit so I can reach mine better. Little head, 2 arms, 2 feet. One head, 2 arms, 2 feet. There's my 7 little stars. See? And there's my Big Dipper. Now, it may not be a perfect Big Dipper. I'm not an astronomist, so I don't know, but I think it looks pretty good. Now, and I probably should have told you to get this out at the beginning, but from your, if this is your first canvas, you should have some white paint in your bag. If it's your second, you probably have white paint from when we did the other, when we did the fox. You should have some white paint. So, what you're going to do is we want to paint this moon, but we want to make him lighter colored. So we're going to mix a scoop, just take a scoop with your brush like this and put it down into your yellow paint and just stir it around with your brush.
We have a Maddie Hyatt watching with us.
Hello, Maddie Hyatt. Maddie Hyatt loves sea turtles. I know that for a fact. All right, I need a little more white paint, so I'm going to scoop out a little bit more in there. You want to make this a nice pale yellow. So keep mixing it around. I'm going to mix some in here so you guys can see it a little better.
She says hi.
Hi, Maddie Hyatt. Maddie Hyatt used to work for us, and then she left us to go off and study marine biology. All right. You all mix that white and yellow together until you get, I did it in my big pot so you could see it better, but you can do it in whatever your yellow's in, just so you save some of your white for other times. All right, and when you get a nice pale yellow that you like, let's see, I'm going to turn mine like this because, again, I don't want to put my hand on those dots up there. So turn your canvas so that when you brace your hand, you're not having to lean on. Yes, I like that nice light yellow. And just start painting along those edges. Now, you all have a black marker in your kit, so if you feel like your edges on your moon get kind of out of control, you can go back with that black marker later and outline it. Whoop. I just did that thing where I go right off the edge. There we go. That's what your Q-tips are there for, guys. If you ever feel like the paint just gets completely out of control and you need to swipe it up, a little damp Q-tip will do it every time. Now I'm going to have to turn again so I can get this edge. Again, if you feel awkward with your paintbrush, you probably need to turn your canvas around. All right, I have a moon now. We have a moon and stars. Oh my gosh, we are flying through this. All right, you are done with your yellow, so you can close that one back up. And we are going to go back to the very palest green that we had, the number 3, the super pale green number 3. Do I need to pause here for a while, guys? Does anybody need to catch up?
We're on a delay, so it'll take them a second.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 10-second delay.
I hope everybody's happy with the way their turtles are turning out. Shelly and Sheldon and Molly and Abby Jr. I think that was our turtles.
No complaints so far.
All right,
so
you guys are just entirely too easy to please. Now, I'm going to turn, I've been using my paper towel and get it messy. I'm going to turn it over so I have a clean spot because now we're going to do a little dry brushing. Use our smallest brush, all right, and we are going to dip it in this light, the number 3, the lightest green. And we're going to put a little on there, but then look what we're going to do. We're going to take a little off. We just want a small amount, and we're going to make, I wonder what to call this shape. I'm going to do it here on the biggest one. We're going to go up kind of an arch shape like this. Oh, I took a little too much paint off. We'll put a little bit back on. But you want just a light amount of paint, and you're going to make an arch and then 2 little designs. I'm going to do it on the paper towel so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going like this around the edge. Not quite that messy. And then I'm doing like that. What would you call that shape?
Can you pull it closer to the camera a little bit?
Yeah.
That little focus.
So I kind of went like this and then down and down.
It's like an upside down V inside of a semicircle.
Yeah, so
just
like that.
Follow the edge of the, yeah.
Like that. But you want a light amount of paint. You don't want to get it too heavy. You can brush that off if it gets too heavy. See, and so I'm going to go around all of these and just do, and some of them might have plenty of room for that, and some of them might be a little tight. So you might just go and do one, and just, you don't want a ton of paint, so you want it almost too light. And if it gets too dark, if you feel like you've gotten too much paint, you can always just kind of smudge it with a Q-tip. And this is just sort of some texture. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bit, oh, that one got a little too much paint, so I'm going to brush him out. So you might like, just tap off a little of the paint. And like I said, some of them you'll only have room for 3 little legs there. So this is just giving our sea turtle shell, and like this one over here, I've only got room for 1 little line. And the same right there. And this one may only fit like 2 little lines. And this is just giving your sea turtle shell a little texture, a little dimension, because you know how their shell just isn't one big flat dome, it's like a bunch of little domes, and we want to add a little of that shape to it. Now this one's a little odd, so I'm going to go up kind of like this, and then maybe down there and maybe right there, and that got a little too dark, so just brush it out a little. And again, this is very subtle. Do you know that word, subtle? That means kind of soft and not showing up very boldly. All right. I think I like that. All right. What have we forgotten to do? I don't think anything except that. I think you guys should all sign your work. Now you can, you could do your initials down here in the corner with your little black marker if you wanted to. If some of you are taking this, if this is your first Canvas class, you'll need to wake your marker up. So shake it up and then press it down onto a paper towel until the black ink shows up. You'll see your tip is very white and mine is black. So if you want to, you could sign your initials down in the corner, and it's 2020. You could also write your name and the date on the back.
But you may want to wait to do that till you're totally dry.
Yes.
We have a question. There's
Yes.
no tail?
There is not a tail on this one. Henry did not draw a tail on him. So now if you guys wanted to add a tail, you certainly could. It would probably come out about like here. But Henry did not create a tail with this one.
We can just assume it's the way they're angled,
Yes.
The tail's behind them.
Yes. Or he's one of those turtles that doesn't have much of a tail. Who knows?
Maybe he lost his tail.
Yeah.
That could be an epic story.
That could be another story. So this is the end of our sea turtle. Now, I'm not going to, I'm going to do some touch-ups on mine. I think I've got some spots here you can see where I think it's a little uneven, so I want to add a little more color here and there. I might put a little more paint on his face there, I'm not sure. But I'm not going to make you all sit here and watch me do touch-ups. That's a little silly. Oh, definitely, I think I need to get a little more paint around my moon. He's showing some, though, I don't know, that could be the glow. You know how the moon kind of glows, especially if it's a little cloudy. But thank you guys so much. This was really fun. I'm really glad you all are joining me. Next Thursday at 3, we're doing the puppy. Now, I'm giving you several different colors in your puppy paint, and I'm going to show you options. Like maybe your puppy has some spots that you want to paint on. You know how some puppies have a big spot around their eye? You could always paint that too. But that's a simple one. That one won't take too long. We tried to do some that are a little more complicated like this one, and some that are a little easier like the puppies. And you guys just keep painting and keep having fun. If you would, close up all your paint really carefully. I'm sure I've given you way too much paint. Save that paint. It would work on a lot of different things. You could paint the front of a spiral notebook. Paint a clay pot that flowers go in.
All with Mom's permission.
All with Mom's permission. This paint sticks to a lot of things. So, if you had an old something in your room that you painted a long time ago that you don't like anymore, ask Mom's permission and you might be able to paint it again. But don't throw this paint away. There's a lot of good use for it. Definitely save your white and your black because we'll be using that again. We use the black with the puppy and a little bit of the white with the puppy. And, in the Panda Bear, if you're doing him. If this is the only canvas you've signed up for and you want to join us for some more, you can always sign up. Oh, and if you hold on 1 second, I'm going to give you a quick preview of some more difficult canvases we're coming up with.
She's grabbing things from the back room. 1 second.
Sorry guys, I had some people tell me that there were some older kids who wanted more complicated designs. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of those. And again, these were designed by Henry, our great, wonderful designer. Now, he's got a tail. There you go. So we'll be doing this sea turtle later. I've got to pick a time when we can film this and that people can paint along with us. This is a hawksbill turtle. I know they are very endangered. And then this one came out a little brighter than I thought it would, so we may have to adapt him a little bit, but some people love that bright. This is my alpaca, and I looked them up. Henry designed the alpaca, and I learned that they live in Peru, and they like to live in mountainous areas, so of course I had to paint a mountain in the background. So those are a couple more. You can keep an eye on our Facebook page and our website. We'll be adding some more designs, and if you feel like you're up to a bigger challenge, you could always join us for those too. But again, thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you next week on Facebook at 3 o'clock.